Namor, the king of the ocean. Oh. I am so happy you have arrived. Please, please, come. Please, feel free to make yourself at home. It looks like I'm the only one that has arrived. Ah, yes. Bruce Banner meant a courtesy call apologizing for his late arrival. He was actually supposed to be here an hour ago to give his assistance for the preparation of the food. As for Mr. Steve Rogers, he unfortunately couldn't make it. He said the party would interfere with bingo night at the retirement home. As for the rest of the Avengers, as well as the agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., they're all corporaling to save on gas. You know, T'Challa, it really is nice to see everyone working in harmony with one another. Ever since the peace treaty with the Atlanteans and what is that glorious smell? This glorious smell you speak of is my great ancestors' recipe. Well, you and your ancestors are just gonna have to share it. Oh my god! Mr. and Mrs. Bubbles? Is this some kind of sick fucking joke? What happened? Do not play dumb with me. You invite me here all alone and try to be all spitable shit just so I can let my guard down? What? No, I swear, this is supposed to be a friendly dinner. It's a celebration of our peace treaty. This is a trap, isn't it? You lured me here. You set me up just so you guys can jump me. No, it's a peace treaty dinner. Fuck the treaty, fuck the Avengers, and fuck you. I'll have your head for this. Ah! Yes, the dinner is cancelled. Alright, before we get into the video, I want to let you guys know that I'm going to be streaming the hottest games of the year and beyond on Twitch. Games like God of War Ragnarok, Warzone 2, the new Dead Space remake, the Calypso Protocol, and the new Resident Evil 4 remake is just a couple games I can name off the top of my head alone that's slated for 2022. Not to mention future titles and a mixture of older ones too. So for all my fellow gamers out there, y'all go sub to my Twitch, alright? I left the link in the description for y'all. With all that being said, let's get into the video, shall we? Ryan Coogler, you beautiful black son of a bitch. You did it. You did it again. Now, this might strike some of you guys who watched my previous content as surprising, but I am what people would consider a Marvel fan. Just like a lot of other kids growing up, my introduction to the Marvel Cinematic Universe being through 90s television reruns like the X-Men, which were the first Marvel characters I absolutely fell in love with in my adolescence. Then soon after came Spider-Man for me. Both of those animated series getting a more modern adaptation titled X-Men Evolution and Spider-Man the New Animated Series. Well, by modern, I'm speaking from that era growing up between the age of 4 to 7, which was 2000 to 2003. And I still remember seeing my favorite animated characters come to life on the big screen for the first time. Bryan Singer's film adaptation of the X-Men 1 through 3, as well as Sam Raimi's Spider-Man trilogy, which just solidified my love for the Marvel Cinematic Universe even more. X-Men 2 United and Spider-Man 2 not only being my favorite movies out of those trilogies, but my favorite superhero movies of all time, even still today. Just a mini tangent, I had to put that out there. By that time, I'm hooked, I'm invested. Niggas had Wolverine and Colossus action figures to X-Men pajamas. I even had this stuffed Spider-Man teddy bear that I would cuddle with every night. I named it Spidey Whitey. When I started getting a little older, around the age of 10 or 11, I started visiting my local comic book store. When I say local, I mean that motherfucker was literally right around the corner since I lived in a plaza at the time. Bro, this comic book store literally had every issue, so old to latest. And of course, what comic book store wouldn't have the X-Men and Spider-Man? Well, you can bet they did, and some. Because I swear, every time that I will walk out of this comic book store, my mind will be absolutely blown on how vast the Marvel Cinematic Universe really is. Characters like the Hulk, Thor, Doctor Strange, Daredevil, Ghost Rider, the Punisher, Blade, which I didn't even know was a part of the cinematic universe at the time. I just thought he was a nigga that wore a coat that killed vampires. Spawn being another brother I didn't know was a part of the universe either, besides seeing the 1997 movie as a kid. The Avengers. Wait, what the fuck? All these niggas team up? Like, do y'all guys understand on how a discovery like that can change a child's perception of superheroes? Like, from my limited child mindset, I thought that most superheroes solely interacted with people from their universe, so to speak. Like, no outs. Like, the X-Men fucking with other mutants and shit. Anyways, with all that being said, I built an attachment with these Marvel characters, the same way as you did, I can assume, more or less. Rather through comics, television, or cinema. But I think it's safe to speak for everyone that Iron Man 1, as well as Disney's inquisition in purchasing Marvel Studios, is what really made it cool to be into superheroes. Like, before the movies, you were deemed as a fucking dweeb if you were even caught with an Iron Man lunchbox in your school cafeteria. Now in 2022, I see grown adults well into their 40s rocking the Captain America t-shirts. Don't believe me? Go outside. I don't care where you live in America. Just go out in public like a mall or whatever the fuck. And I guarantee you'll find at least 4 people rocking a Marvel character graphic tee. It's similar to anime t-shirts, which 15 years ago, you would look dorky looking if you were wearing that. This reason of Marvel's explosion in pop culture in recent memory, love it or hate it, being that the actors casted as these heroes now all gave us a reference point that we can identify and relate to. Like, Robert Downey Jr. gave Iron Man so much personality that when we think of Iron Man, our minds automatically go to the actor playing him rather than a flying hunk of metal. Like, Robert is Tony Stark. Robert is Iron Man. And the same Chris Evans did for Captain America. Chris Hemsworth did with Thor. What Chadwick Boseman did for Black Panther. I think I made my point. My apologies in advance for the drawn-out intro. As for the people that's familiar with my format of movie reviews, this isn't something out of the ordinary. I think it will be a disservice not to mention Chadwick Boseman's adaptation as King T'Challa in the first Black Panther and just how impactful that movie was. Like, it was really a marvel to behold. No pun intended. Not only was it a great comic book movie, but an amazing movie in general. It wasn't I who just thought this though. Many critics gave the first film near perfect reviews, and I think the movie made at least $1.5 billion in the box office. So yeah, Black Panther was a pretty huge fucking deal. Ryan Coogler's first Marvel directed movie ever, and he nails it. So it wouldn't be a surprise by anyone that when Black Panther 2 Wakanda Forever got announced, it will be one of the most anticipated movies of the year, or leaving fans of the first film full of skepticism. Skeptical due to the passing of the extremely talented actor and man Chadwick Boseman, who unfortunately lost the battle to cancer back of late August of 2020. His character instantly becoming a fan favorite, including little black boys and girls who all now had a reference point to identify with, despite the fact of him only appearing in 3 movies. Civil War, which was Black Panther's first introduction to the MCU, Black Panther, and Infinity War. Having that much impact, how would it even be possible to even move forward with the series? That's pretty big shoes to fill. Speaking of which, Black Panther's 2 script was already in the works way before Chadwick Boseman's passing. So when he actually did die, the whole script was changed altogether. So now that we addressed the elephant in the room, this leads to one question. Is Black Panther 2 Wakanda Forever any good? Hell fucking yes. I absolutely loved Wakanda Forever. I mean, I kind of already insinuated this in the intro when I started clapping and shit. Well, now I'm directly saying this, motherfuckers. If you love the first movie, there's no doubt in my mind you wouldn't like the second. Now, disclaimer, I could definitely see a split between people who prefer the first over the second. And for that, I would have to agree. Yes, I actually enjoyed the first film over the second. But in my opinion, I generally do believe that Ryan Coogler masterfully fills this obvious deep void we feel of this lack of presence of character. Like, they addressed this very early on in the film, which really isn't a spoiler if you've at least seen the first trailer to Wakanda Forever. I really liked the first 15 minutes on how Ryan Coogler really gave Chadwick Boseman a presence without really being presence. It was just an amazing and beautiful tribute. Like, I'm not even gonna hold y'all. I'm a real ass nigga, and I'll be the first one to admit that I almost bawled my eyes out the first couple minutes of this movie. Like the first film, the returning cast members were also great too. Like Angela Bassett as the Queen, Riri Williams as Ironheart, and Shuri as the Princess, now the new Black Panther. They were all great too. But what's a good superhero film without a good villain? Well, I'm happy to say in this case, Namor as the anti-hero in Wakanda Forever is absolutely amazing. He knocks it out of the park with his performance. I'm not going to get into Namor's character, at least not right now, because his role in the MCU is a pretty interesting one. So I think it will be better to delve more into that in a spoiler segment of the video. I'm going to leave a time duration in the comments where the spoiler starts and ends. As for all the other people that already seen this movie and just simply clicked on this video for entertainment purposes or to get a second opinion, if you're interested in learning more about Namor, I highly recommend y'all guys go in the link in the description below and click on a couple of videos that I left explaining the more of the lore of the anti-hero. I thought the pace of this movie was pretty good too, which was an actual surprise to me, being that some Marvel movies suffer this god-awful plot narrative that would take you in one direction while filling it with jokes and useless dialogue. Thor Ragnarok! Oh, I think I'm coming down with something. I feel myself getting sick. Wakanda Forever's script is well written with sprinkles of humor that generally made me bust out laughing while still remaining to have a serious tone. I almost forgot to mention this movie's cinematography and soundtrack, again, like the first Black Panther movie, which was a staple. There were certain scenes that generally gave me goosebumps on how well the segments were shot in combination with the amazing score. It gave me a real adrenaline rush, like a real, wow, I've never seen this done before kind of feel. If I had to give this movie a rating, I would go a 9.5 out of 10. While I do believe the first Black Panther movie is the better film, I thoroughly did enjoy Wakanda Forever. Alright, so now we can get into the juicy stuff. Spoilers. First and foremost, let's address probably one of the biggest bombshells dropped on us in this movie, specifically revolving around Namor's character. This bombshell being that he is a fucking mutant. Remember in the non-spoiler segment of the video where I mentioned my introduction to the Marvel Universe, that being the X-Men, which is my favorite cast of Marvel characters of all time, even more so than the Avengers? Well, let's just say in that segment where Namor explains on how he got his powers in his own words, addressing himself as the first mutant, I fucking came. Clean up on aisle 3. But in all seriousness, I fucking lost it in the theaters. Like, mutants are confirmed. Technically, we do see hints of mutants in Doctor Strange 2, Multiverse of Madness, where Professor X's character plays one of the members of the Illuminati. Even though then it still really wasn't real confirmation, even though we did know that the X-Men were eventually going to come later down the lines in future Marvel films in the future, it all really just boiled down to when do we get to see the X-Men. So for Namor to actually confirm mutants' existence, being that he's the first, literally changes everything. I have to say, I'm extremely excited for this, as well as how they incorporate Namor's return. Being an anti-hero, his role can change depending on his motives, whether it be personal gain like the lust of power, or the benefit for the mutant society as a whole, including the X-Men, and or solely for the best interests of his fellow Atlanteans. Namor is a very fascinating character as he plays a very significant role in the MCU. Again, for all the people that's interested into the character and want a more depth analysis, go click the link in the description. Another thing I thought was really cool to see was Killmonger's return. Well, kinda. That nigga is still very much dead. But seeing him in that ancestral plane sequence was enough to get me hyped and let out a cheer. And finally, that epic post-credit scene that was a touching send-off to T'Challa's Black Panther, as well as the start of a new beginning. That huge reveal that T'Challa actually had a secret son and agreed to decide to have him hide outside of Wakanda was actually pretty wholesome. The hint towards the possibility in seeing not one, but two Black Panthers on a big screen is a direction seems to be Black Panther 3 is seeming to take. as teased in the post-credit scene. And the fact of him being directly linked to T'Challa just makes this way much more impactful. All in all, I really do think that Wakanda Forever is a really great sequel, as it really does hold up to its predecessor, while also managing to be a proper send-off to the late Chadwick Boseman. What a spectacular fucking way to end Phase 4, I might add. Rather you're a Marvel fan, or maybe not, and just simply enjoyed the first, please go watch this movie as soon as you can. I couldn't recommend this movie anymore. With all that being said, that's going to wrap out my review. Y'all guys stay up and stay blessed, man. Thank you.